welcome to Sport Jibberish. I'm Stuart Booth.
I'm Chandler from Jibberish.
I nearly missed the screen completely then. It froze me being the wrong side.
It's because we've had 4 weeks not doing it.
I know, that just reminds me it's first time back, isn't it?
Yeah, first time back in the boudoir.
Yeah, got a little sound in the background. I had to check I was pointing in the right direction then. Yeah, we are back. I'm back with a bang. And so is the Premiership.
Oh, unbelievable weekend.
What a weekend. But we're going to go through that in more detail. Yeah. We're going to Jack's already prepped me to get ready. He's got a rant coming along, and no doubt for our regular listeners, it is to do with cricket. We'll be talking about our first fantasy football winner this week. Jack did really, really well.
I had a shock. I'll tell you about I've got an excuse for it.
Okay, alright, well, we look forward to that. But we're going to start with our sporting week. So, exciting times, Jack, because it is your first training session tonight.
Tonight, so we're doing this Wednesday.
Yes.
This week. So tonight, Wednesday night, my first pre-season.
Yeah, the reason we're doing this today is because Jack's got a training session tonight. That means it'd be led up in bed Thursday or Friday, so we'll be able to do anything.
I'll be done.
Yeah.
Done and dusted. I'll be needing some massage and all sorts, so tonight looking forward to it actually. So meet some of the new fellas. Obviously they've had 3 sessions I think. Gone well, so yeah, it'd be good to get back into it. And 1 or 2 people beginning to filter back into the country after travelling.
Yeah,
so.
I believe we've got the old Charlie Cooksters coming
down.
Well,
fingers crossed.
I think he's going to bottle it.
Oh, I hope not, because I think there's a bit of a... Well, he was a good player back in the day, and I've said before, I'm pretty sure we've played against each other when we were a lot younger, but I'm hoping that he does the right thing and turns up. I'm going to be on to him today. Although having said that, he might still be recovering from the weekend.
Yes, I was. For anybody that wasn't aware, Charlie invited myself and Jack round for opening a Premiership.
Yeah.
We went along and he cooked us a Sunday lunch on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because Saturdays are our
Sundays.
Lovely. The wife's gone away, so he was like cats will play type of attitude. To say that he drank a little bit of blackcurrant juice would be an understatement.
Yeah, it was a good day though, wasn't it?
It was a really good day. Big thank you for that, Charlie. It was an awesome day. But really good one. Anything else developing with regards to the club?
No, nothing really, other than we've got league fixtures, I think, on the 17th. I'm not so sure that they've realised that the T20 World Cup and the IPL starts in October. So all of our games at the minute are down at the 7s, but I think there might be a change in that once they realise there'll be a clash.
I mean, we've just been invited to a special group, haven't we?
We have indeed.
The T20 Hospitality Group.
Oh.
We have no idea what that entails, but it's exciting.
But we will be there.
We will be there, either in hospitality or in the stand.
Yeah,
but looking forward to that. So big thank you, Danny Chop, for getting contact and sorting that out for us.
Good work, Danny. So that's where we're at the minute. And then we're just trying to get a ground for a pre-season game, but it's so hot in it. Imagine playing in the middle of the day in this. But yeah, we'll see what occurs. But yeah, all things going well. And I believe you went back to training last week, was it?
Yes, we had our first training session. A little bit shorter than planned. That's a story for another time, I think. But yeah, we've got a game again tonight. In a house, friendly. Friendly being the operative word there.
Just go steady, so I don't want you getting injured.
There's people trying to keep me in, my friend. And then we've just announced that we're having our end of season presentation, I think on the 10th of September. They have suggested there may be an open bus tour happening.
Oh dear, an open bus tour? One of those Dubai city bus tours?
I have no idea what's going to happen, but we currently have just broken the club record, so that's why they're on about the Vets getting on an open bus tour. So we're 43 games unbeaten, which the previous record was 42, and 27 wins in a row. So end of season celebrations on the 10th with potentially an open bus tour, and it's a TBC. I thought it was a joke initially, but then it's been bandied about a few times now. And if there's anybody that can, Danny that's sorting out the cricket is likely to
please get an open top bus tour around Mira.
Yeah, so like an oasis. But yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, I think we've officially started pre-season training a week or 2 weeks today.
Okay.
So I'm not looking forward to that because it's going to be doggies. And I went for a little bit of a run 2 nights ago, and it said 38 on my watch, but then when I got home and added the humidity to it, it came out to 44.
Yeah, the humidity is horrific at the minute.
Yeah, I know. And I went out for half an hour, And I'm not joking, I was at Beetroot for about a good hour and a half after
it's
it was
really bad.
not nice. But enough about us, let's talk about football. Premiership review. Okay, so as everybody's fully aware, the Premiership started with a bang. Brentford beating Arsenal 2-0 on the opening game of the season. That, to me, signs of worry already at Arsenal. I know you go into a newly promoted team, we're going to be buzzing, there's crowds
Friday
at
night as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
Friday night, there's going to be an element of something, but Smith Rowe and Tierney were the two best players for Arsenal. Everybody else was vacant. Saka was on the bench, came on, didn't really do anything when he came on. And just looked around the pitch and they just looked void of leadership. I know Xhaka's on the pitch, but I don't even count him as a leader. There was nothing of any worth going forward. Martinelli's not a bad player, but he needs Aubameyang and Lacazette around him. I know them two are still to come back in, but there's talks about maybe one of them leaving now.
I didn't watch the game, but when the teams were picked, or I saw that, I did see the team announced, I was like, that Arsenal team, there's just nobody on there on that particular team sheet that you went, oh wow, and yeah, but what a win for Brentford, and what an atmosphere, and afterwards it was absolute class, and it reminded me a little bit about how Bournemouth were when they first come up, or how they still are, quite a small ground, intimate club, and you can see there's that relationship between the players and the fans that obviously helps when you come up through the leagues and you develop it, and you're a bit smaller, you can get that connection. And it looks like it's not going to be an easy place to go. No, and they play football the right way as well.
They try and play a nice bit of football. They're quite strong at the back. But what was interesting was Tony's first game, so I wanted to see how he compared. Just drops into the hole a bit too much for me. Considering he scored 33 goals last season, I expected him to be a bit more beyond. But the strange one, this is a fancy football tip for you here. Boombo, who plays up front with him, is actually classed as a midfielder in the game.
There's a surprise.
And he looked the likely person when Tony drops into an area to flip the ball on. He's a likely runner in and beyond, and he hit the post and he dragged one wide. So that's interesting. But yeah, great result for Brentford, and gets them off to a great start. And then we were just delighted with some great football throughout Saturday. So we watched the Man United Leeds game. I think Leeds, when they equalised, had the best 3 minutes of their life, thinking they were going to go on and potentially win it. United looked okay, didn't look tremendous. It was just a strange one. It just seemed to be every time United attacked after you going 1-1 and then going 2-1 to United, it was just a bit like the part of the Red Sea.
Yeah.
And Leeds' intensity wasn't there, and the going forward wasn't there either. That ability to get in behind, Bamford just looked pretty shadow.
Yeah, well, I've said all last.
Rafinha did all right.
Yeah, I've said all last year, I think, and even during the summer or whatever, that for me they need a strike if they're going. Because Bamford had a great first half of the season, and I think he can play. He's got some nice touches. He can finish, but I don't know what else he offers, and that kind of probably showed it the other day. But Man United looked good.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm not too sure. Leeds were particularly great defensively, but you can't argue about the 5-1. And I think, they look a little bit, Man United look a bit stronger than what they did. And bearing in mind they announced Varane for the 7th time, but officially on the pitch. Sancho's still on the bench. Rashford to come back. So they look reasonably strong. Cavani to come back.
Yeah, I think squad-wise they're very, very strong. I just wonder about Ollie's tactics, and can he pick up the right team for the right game? Because if they're going to go with that mentality where they did attack and they pressed and they kind of pin Leeds in at times to eventually get the breakthrough, then they'll win the majority of their games. But it just, when it's not a big game as such, has Ollie got that ability to get his team up for games?
And will Fernandes feature? Because let's be honest, Fernandes goes missing in big games.
Yeah. So we'll see, but great start. Burnley lost at home to Brighton 2-1. That spells danger already. Burnley would particularly want to make sure they win all their home games.
Do you reckon these managers highlight games that they have to win? Because I think I would be.
A couple of years ago when I was working for North End, I was invited into an area, and it was next to the manager's office, and then we ended up in the manager's office, and he actually had a list of games and what was expected from them. So it was like 3 points draw, loss, and they really particularly pinpointed certain amounts of games. So I've no doubt. And Burnley at home to Brighton, you'd be thinking that should be 3 points.
Definitely, I think that's 3 points. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a worrying sign already. Chelsea against Crystal Palace, just a one-way game.
I saw a news article about Palace yesterday. I think it might be Sky News. You'd have seen it, but they lost 9 first-team players and they've only signed 4.
Yeah, but they've got another young lad from QPR, but didn't play.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
And of course, the other your man's injured, isn't he? But I think Vieira said they're just beyond where they need to be. So I expect them to do a bit of business in this next week or two. I think.
Well,
if they can.
Yeah, we talked about the first 3 games: Burnley losing, Palace losing, and Southampton losing.
Yeah,
you've got their potential bottom.
I think 3. Southampton are in a bit of bother.
Yeah,
albeit the new striker scored, didn't he?
Yeah, and they went 1-0 up early doors, and then Everton just steamrolled them second half. Finished 3-1. Leicester won 1-0 against Wolves. Vardy back in the score sheet.
Yeah.
Watford 3, Villa 2. I don't think many people had seen that coming before the game, especially with the business Villa have been doing. So that's a great result. And Watford were actually 3-1 up in that match and looked quite comfortable. And Villa only scored in 96 minutes.
And I think Villa, I think one of my contacts on Twitter is a Villa fan, so sometimes, as you can see a thread if he's commented on. And it looks like Villa are a little bit disappointed. The fact that I think El Ghazi and Ashley Young started as their wide attacking players and are saying, hang on a minute, for all this talk about we're progressive, you got 2 veterans playing out wide. Yeah. So it's interesting that they seem to have spent a lot of money, but yet are they spending in the right areas, or how good are they actually going to be?
Right, it's going to be a test of Dean Smith's mantle that he is as a manager. And then we watched the Norwich-Liverpool game, which was a bit of a strange one because it was a bit of a slow burner.
Yeah.
And as the subs went on, Liverpool became a lot stronger. That is definitely not Liverpool's strongest 11 that started. No. They missed Thiago, they missed Jordan Henderson, who actually were saved to play in a game behind closed doors against Aston Villa the day after.
Oh, really?
So and Curtis Jones was also playing and featured in that game. So he is rotating. Joe Gomez and Kante played in that game as well. So it just seems at the moment, he just seems to be feeling his way into the season, and without being disrespectful to Norwich, that was probably a nice little start.
Yeah, definitely.
And they just went through the gears when they needed to. Norwich put a bit of pressure on. There was a great save by Alisson, but I think already at that point it was either 2 or 3-0. But yeah, great start for Liverpool, and lots more to come by the looks of things.
Salah on the score sheet on the opening days at 5
in a row, so that's a record, yeah.
And Milner covered the most ground of any player on the opening weekend. I think it was 11.6 kilometres.
Amazing, considering he's 34?
34, I think, 35, yeah.
Yeah, still an ultimate athlete, still probably one of the fittest guys at the club.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, I watched the Newcastle-West Ham game. What a game.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I was watching the cricket, actually.
Yeah, West Ham were very, very strong throughout, but Newcastle just seemed to pinch things on their counter. And the first goal, Declan Rice has been done.
Yes.
Well, it starts off with Cresswell's horrendous touch, and then Maximin's turned Cresswell 4 or 5 times, and then eventually gets that a little bit of space to put a ball in. Callum Wilson's movement, if you're an up-and-coming striker, you need to watch his movement for the goal. Because when Maximin's turning, he's kind of drifting off the centre-half and moves behind the centre-half between the full-back. And as he sees him opening up to take it, he then darts between the full-back and the centre-half. At that point, the centre-half doesn't know where he is. Yeah. The full-back can't get across him enough to try and do anything to impede him. So the movement on that is...
Shearer-esque with an up 9 shirt on.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to use many, but really good movement. And then came the big game of the day, where... City fans started with the chants, Harry Kane wants to be blue.
Yeah.
Finished off with, are you watching Harry Kane by Spurs fans? Intriguing game, and I'll let Jack have his 2p's worth in a second, but first 10-15 minutes you were not at the races. City's poor finishing and creating obvious chances has let them down at that point. And that we know if you don't punish when on top, it's going to come back and cause you problems. But I actually got some interesting feedback from a Spurs fan. So the first words were, I sent a message to Spurs fans saying congratulations on winning the Harry Kane World Cup last night. He put, cheers Stu, that's another league wrapped up now, can start looking to next season.
That's got to be Johnny.
It is Johnny, yeah. And he put, I hope you mentioned in your podcast how utterly majestic they were. Definitely the best football I've seen any team play ever. I said, I'll quote you on that. and he put thanks, haha. Son even gave them a chance by not shooting the first hour of the match. Then thought, you know what, let's put them out of their misery and get things done. He knew he'd be able to get through the best defensive line in the world, so one goal was always going to be enough. And then he's put his finishing line where Spurs are now the favourites to win every trophy for the next 10 years, including the Olympics.
I'm obviously on he's on the same group as me in the Spurs fan group here in Dubai, and he just throws things like that in it. And of course, people don't know whether it's being serious or not.
Yeah.
But
then he also told me that Lamella had scored 2 at the weekend.
Yeah, for severe.
And I found his level, I put Spanish League as bad as the Scottish League.
But yeah, he did Lamella did score. But yeah, no, I agree that actually, first 15 minutes I thought, oh dear. You know, I don't know if it. Probably we weren't quite at the races. City just started to fast, weren't they? And then I think Neville said it actually on Sky that sort of City defaulted to their when things don't go well for them, they just slow it all down. That obviously allowed Spurs to get a forward in the game. I thought the midfield three worked really hard. I mean, they weren't overly creative, Skip, Højbjerg and Dele, but my goodness, they worked hard. They gradually got the foot in the game. And the back four looked solid. Yeah. Young Tanganga was class.
Tanganga hit. This is what I was talking about. That if you're a betting person now, do not put bets on yellow cards because they're just not giving them out. Tanganga hit Grealish about 4 times, Sterling 4 or 5 times, until the point where he said to the captain, "This is his last chance." Then he backed off.
Yeah.
But he literally just went smack, 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 smack until he got that final warning.
But isn't that good to see that? I mean, that's what. Digress a little bit, but I think one of the highlights of the weekend was having fans back clearly and the refereeing and the non-intrusion of VAR. I think the one big decision of the weekend in the Newcastle game was wrong. They got that wrong. But other than that, just nice to let the game flow and be physical again. But yeah, and then Spurs just hit on the counter. In all honesty, I mean, Johnny says it tongue-in-cheek there. Some did have 2 or 3 I don't know why he didn't shoot. Don't know why he didn't shoot. And then obviously eventually did got a nice. I think Diaz actually put the keeper off a little bit.
Yeah,
he's got too deep. But other than that, and to be fair, other than that first 15 minutes, I think Spurs were worth it. Wasn't like we were hanging on.
No, Bergwijn had a great chance to put you 2-0 up.
Yeah, I mean,
he's put it wide and he should have finished.
Yeah, that's the worry that I thought Lucas Moore was outstanding.
Yeah,
gets you out of that trouble, doesn't he? Gets you up the pitch. But Bergwijn for me is just not good enough at that level and. We'll see what happens. Obviously, they've got the guy from Brian Gil, they call him the Spanish lad. He looks like the fellow off Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
he's an out and out left winger, so he can come in. And of course, the Kane saga hangs on. He's been picked in the Europa Conference League squad for Thursday night. He trained yesterday, so I don't know what's going on there. There's something. I would say not quite right because nobody's saying anything.
No,
and that's where people. I think the club are at fault. I think he's at fault as well. Let's just get it resolved.
Yeah, either one way or the other. I think it just needs to be part of this misery, doesn't it? And there's 12 days left of the transfer window. It's end of August. Have you seen City being linked with Ronaldo this morning?
Yeah.
So that's now starting. But Ronaldo's come out straight away and just said, "This is absolutely rubbish."
Do you not think that's because Messi's moved, so now they're just.
Yeah, it'd just be headlines to pick up a paper type of thing. But
I don't know. We need that thing. I've said all along with Kane. If he got, I can understand why he wants to go, and clearly City need a goal scorer.
Well, I was going to say Levy might be able to squeeze a little bit more out of him now.
But Levy won't let him go for whatever he thinks he's worth. Whatever he thinks he's worth, he will not let him go for less than that. I know that for a fact. And now that becomes an issue, doesn't it? That if say he owes him 140 million. City only offer the 25. He says he's not going. Where does that leave the player then?
Yeah,
I mean you've got a player. I think Kane would eventually get over it because I think he is professionally, but it's very difficult then, isn't it?
Yeah, there's another story this morning thrown around about Bernardo Silva being thrown into the mix.
I think that's been.
But I think there's a few. We've had Sterling thrown in the mix. Now Silva thrown in the mix.
Yeah.
Skip. We'll talk about him because he was obviously one of the championship players last year. So he combated well. Got around the place. So he got a little bit caught in the headlights.
He said text me.
Just needs to settle down a little bit. But then when he got himself into it looked steady away.
And do you know what I thought he did well? Is when he won the ball. He won the ball and he looked to pass it forward.
Yeah.
Even I'm not saying he hasn't got the ability to ping a ball, but he looked to go forward. Whereas the likes of Winks and Højbjerg would do that and just go sideways back to the centre half. And I actually thought Højbjerg actually looked better, playing a little bit more advanced, like he did in the Euro.
He seemed to break a few times, didn't he?
Yeah.
But
he just gets in the full third and
falls apart. He's like a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it?
It's like me getting
just falls to pieces.
Like me in the 40s.
Yeah. Right, okay, so we'll have a look at the fixtures for this weekend. Obviously, there are championship games going on at the moment. North End had a good start, played 3, lost 3. Absolutely flying. Saw banners out last night calling for the chairman out. It's not good times, but North End have never been known to spend any money. And then somebody was taking the mick because there was a lad, and people might be aware of this, the lad that North End have just signed. He played the same level as me. Moved up to Bamber Bridge in the one below the conference, so the Unibond League. Spent a season there, played in a game behind closed doors against North End, scored 2 against them, and North End had just signed him. And the lads are like, no disrespect to this guy, but what on earth is this club coming to? And we're having to sign players from the Unibond League.
Tricky start.
Yeah, but it's. I think when North End will look at them games, I would have thought they picked up more points, but. Yeah, it's interesting. It was like looking at Championship because you can never predict who's going to come out of it. Coventry have had a great start.
Yeah. Other teams we have an eye on, Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln unfortunately lost last night.
Won 1, draw 1, lost 1.
Yeah, lost to Bolton.
They've just signed TJ
from Spurs. I text Jez this morning because I had to thank him for something else. I was having a chat with him. He's not replied yet, but I was like, what was it like working with Levy? Because he would have had to deal with him in order to get a transfer through. So... I'll see what he comes back and says.
And of course, Portsmouth said you with the Cowleys played 3-1-3, so it's a hell of a start for them.
Yeah, but it's always an interesting situation. I've got like a loose connection. There's a lad I used to play football with, used to coach. His brother has just signed for Bradford, and he's starting in Bradford. He was at Wolves actually.
Oh.
Elliot Watt, he's starting for Bradford, and a friend of mine is also his daughter's, I think, engaged to him. So I had to look out for them there. I had a good win last night as well. So. Yeah, it's interesting times. You never know a Championship, Div 1, Div 2. You've always got your normal teams that will always do well. There's always a surprise package.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
and if they can hold on, then isn't it in the long term? But Boss United first game of the season, they didn't start till Saturday. First game at the new ground with fans, like a league game, fairly big crowd.
Did a little something for your uncle, didn't they?
They did do a round of applause for my uncle, which was really good. I was actually, my auntie was there. She was invited along with my cousin and her family. If I'd stayed 2 days out, I'd have been there as well. But unfortunately not, so that was good. But the result was not nice. And apparently the performance not good either. So I think he might be under a bit of pressure there if they don't have a good start. Because I think, looking at, and I'm only going, I don't know these players, but it looks to me like he's got 2 players for every position, which costs money.
Yeah.
And decent players at that level. And I'm pretty sure the ground like that, the chairman wants to be in the conference at least.
Sure. Yeah.
So he needs to probably pull his finger out there.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, next week's game. So first game is Saturday. It's Liverpool versus Burnley. Burnley will be. I don't know. Will they be optimistic about it because they took Liverpool's record off them at Anfield last year? But I think with crowding, and I said this, and people kind of laughed at it. Liverpool are a completely different entity with the crowd behind it. And it will not be a nice place. And Liverpool were wanting to put them to the sword after what they did to them last year. Ashley Barnes is kicking Alisson in the head and getting a penalty. Then we've got the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Villa Newcastle, interesting fixture. Both teams will be desperate for a win. Crystal Palace Brentford. This will be to see where Palace are.
And also where Brentford are.
Yeah. I can see Brentford turn them over. Leeds Everton. That's a tasty fixture. And then City Norwich. Unfortunately, Norwich have got the worst 2 fixtures opening.
Almost like free, aren't they?
You'd say that, but you don't want to lose too many in a row because you still want to. You don't want to. Yeah, you don't really want to be looking at the table and going, "We're already 6 points behind."
Yeah.
And then the evening game is Brighton versus Watford.
I won't be staying up for that.
I will not either. No, that does not entice me at all. And then Sunday we've got 3 fixtures. We have Southampton, Man United. Again, that'll be, we talked about before, is getting his players up for games, and I think that'll be an interesting one. See how well they fare at Southampton. That's a tiny one, isn't it? Wolves against Spurs, and Nuno going back. And then probably, arguably, the biggest game on the Sunday is Arsenal versus Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then Monday night we have a fixture, West Ham versus Leicester. So I think if you're a betting person, that's a hard weekend to predict who's going to win them games.
That would be quite a nice game to watch, the West Ham Leicester, if it wasn't an 11 o'clock kick-off here.
Yeah.
I think it could be quite open.
And we're back at work as well.
Don't swear at me.
Yeah, I know. You're getting fear yet?
Getting there.
Getting there slowly. Right, we're going to go on to Jack's rant. He is... I'll tell you what we haven't covered, I've just seen, is our recommendations for programmes that we've seen.
Yeah, I've watched a couple to chill it out. Do you want to start?
Yeah, you go for it, mate. While you drinking water, I'll go for it. So we bit of conflab over the text messages, like what have you been up to? Because it's so hot here, there's nothing to do other than lie around all day watching Stevie. And for people back on Stevie's TV, goes back to it's not even worth going into the story. But I watched Malice in the Palace, which is the Detroit versus Pacers. And Pacers were absolutely storming the game. There's 4 minutes left of the game. There's something like 14 points up. Game's in the bag, and they're absolutely destroying team. Anyway, one of the guys just says to the Pacers guy, you know, you can afford to take a hit on one of their guys now. And they're both physical teams. The Pacers guys hit the guy off the ball, and it's kind of kicked off. But then the guy, while it's all kicking off, from the Pacers, lies on the scoring board just like chilling out, but he stands behind his head, lies down, and then at that point he gets a beer thrown at him. So this cook comes out of the crowd, covers him in beer, hits him, doesn't react well, runs into the crowd, hits the wrong guy. The guy that actually threw the cup is wrestling him off. Then another Piston player runs in, throws a punch and hits somebody, smacks him. Then they kind of get kicked out. And then when they're down on the thing, there's not enough security to keep everybody off the floor, and then the fans start attacking them on the basketball court. And there's a fan that confronts the Piston player, and he hits him. And then another one comes over, and another Piston lad runs over and hits him. And then they end up having to call the police because there's only 3 police for the full crowd. And it just goes on about how they then get a substantial ban, and they were favourites that season to win the NBA championships.
We got a media ban from that.
And one got a 30-game ban, one got a 25-game ban, and another guy got a ban. But then, because of the incident of being attacked on the court, he then got his ban reduced or even waived. But yeah, end result was that Pistons end up losing their valuable players, which in turn meant that their best player was never able to win a championship ring. It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch to see, and it's worth viewing at the end of it whose fault it all is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is, because when you watch it on the media, it's like NBA players, they're a bunch of thugs, they shouldn't be doing this. And then one of the points goes, this happened, you know, like with the fact that the fan threw something at us and we reacted. We didn't react well. I'm not trying to justify it, but you call them the thugs. But yeah, in ice hockey, you just go around beating each other up. Yeah. And there's games where they just go, I'm not even going to throw anything, they strip the gloves down and just go straight for it. So it's a little bit like Perceptions, but well worth a watch. It's only an hour and 10 as well. Oh, that's a decent watch.
Well, talking of Palace, I watched, I have seen that, so I will watch it because it's on Netflix, isn't it? I watched on Amazon Prime where Eagles Dare, which was about Crystal Palace.
Sounds like something for World War.
Yeah, no. Well, so it's about Crystal Palace, and actually, what it is, it's been done last year, or fairly recently, in the last few months, but what it is it's footage from the 2012-2013 season that was never used. We're going to do a documentary, never used. And it tracks, basically, Palace from 2010, when they're pretty much minutes away from liquidation, to when they get promoted in 2030 to the Premiership, and of course, haven't been out since. Dead interesting, really interesting. So it's obviously Steve Parish and 3 other fans take it over. And when I say it's minutes, they're minutes away from liquidation, because basically, when he went into it, he bought the debt, realised that they didn't own the ground. So he said, we can't do anything without the ground, and blah, blah, blah. So at this point, it's obviously the back end of the financial crisis in the UK. So it was owned by HBOS that Lloyds then bailed, or the government told Lloyds to bail out. So Lloyds Bank basically owned it. And they couldn't come to an agreement. I think he quoted something like, they wanted 12 million for the ground and they could afford 3 or something like that. So they were way off. Anyway, the Palace fans, 2,500, 3,000 Palace fans, I think it was June the 10th, 2010, or June the 20th, 2010, marched onto Lloyds Bank's headquarters in London and gave this sort of letters by the club or whatever it was. And Lloyd phoned Parish while they were there and said, "You best come in." Because obviously Parish was saying it's the fans coming in for the fans to do it, and then they actually saw it. So they managed to get hold of it. And then they escaped relegation into League One last day of the season by beating Sheffield Wednesday. And then it tracks it from there. And it's dead good. Like the season they get promoted 2012-2013, where there's a lot of footage from what was going to be a documentary and never happened. Dougie Freeman, they have a bad start, then they get on a run because he signed some players. Jedenek,
Yes.
Balassi, to name two of them off the top of it. They go on a run, and then he gets approached by Bolton and goes.
Wow.
When they're fifth and Bolton are, albeit they've just come out of the Premiership and Bolton are below them, then of course Ian Holloway takes over. And eventually...
You just watched a documentary on him alone.
Yeah. Eventually they get through the playoffs, they go top for a while, they only win one in the last 10 matches and get win through the playoffs. It's dead interesting. A couple of points out there I'll ask you. Firstly, there's one where they were playing a certain way under Freeman, and when Holloway first came in, he didn't really tinker with it much. He said, "Look, do this, but this is how we'll do it during the week." And then as time went on, more of his way of playing, so he wanted possession-based football where they were playing more on the break a little bit, effectively. And basically the players and the chairman met, and the chairman then went, the senior players and the chairman then went to see it. And Holloway's on it, says, "Yeah, it's not really that," but I just said, "Okay, let's go," and then they eventually get through, which is an interesting thing. And it's quite good because basically they all say that actually, you mentioned Jigsaw earlier, that there's all these misfits. There was Damien Delaney was about to retire from football, and they picked him up on a free from Ipswich, and he slated Ipswich and QPR. They signed him like September on a free. Jedenek from Australia, Balassi who'd been ousted from, so all these misfits. Peter Ramage was there, and put them all together, and they all talk about this great team atmosphere, and they're all mates still now. And the last thing, which are lots, they went to, in the semi-final, Plateau final, they played Brighton, big rivals, 0-0 at Palace. They go to Brighton, and as they got off the team, was going to the changing rooms. Basically, someone has done their mess all over the toilet area of the changing room, and there's footage of Ian Holloway going crackers at something in the tunnel. And they were saying it how it backfired. It was clearly deliberate. Backfired on when they won. And of course, the big player was Wilf Zaha.
Yeah.
And after the end of that year, he went to Man United.
And then coming back.
But it's about 5 episodes. I've watched it over the last 2 days.
And that's on Prime.
Amazon Prime. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably on other platforms. It's a real interesting watch. And of course, they're now in the Premiership, and they've been to an FA Cup final since and stuff like that.
About to get relegated.
So it's interesting, isn't it, that actually they've got some business to do, I think.
Oh, definitely. Right, okay, we'll move on to your cricket rant.
Yeah.
England completely collapsed. I think the incident, from what I read and what my understanding is that they didn't go after the tail enders correctly.
Correct.
Indians tail enders, and they allowed them to get way more on the scoreboard than they've ever expected. I think one of them only averages scoring 2.
Correct.
The other one only averages 5 or something like that. And then they didn't go after them, messed about with the field too much, messed about with the bowling when they should have just delivered line and length and just peppered them and put pressure on.
You learn, you know?
Now there we go, I picked things up, and then eventually got themselves in a position to bat where it was a reasonable target, and you'd probably say a fairly easy target, considering what was a full day batting to go, and they had to get 100 and...
No, there were 2. That's what they should have been. If they got the tail enders out and you're dead right, they just lost the plot.
Yeah.
And if they'd done that, they would have had a majority of 2.5 sessions to get around 200. In the end, they ended up they batted all morning.
Yeah.
And they declared after lunch, and they were never going to go for the runs, but pathetic.
And then calls for a new opening batsman.
I've said it before.
What about moving Nazib up?
Yeah,
so I'm up to from
because he's an opener. Yeah, he's an opener. So look, it's terrible. You're dead right. Root lost the plot for now, and he's got to shoulder the blame, and he did, to be fair. But it worries me because you've got senior bowling Anderson. Why is he surely knows that that's not the way to bowl. So I don't know where the power lies there. And And yeah, embarrassing. Those two can't bat. The England can't bat.
Yeah.
And in fact, Bumrah, averaged 2 before the last 2 Test matches. Never scored a double figure score. Got 28 in the last Test match, and then whatever he got, Shami got his 50 as well. So that was that. And then, fair take on the chin. Right, we're in a winning position. We've chucked that away. Let's just make sure we don't lose a Test match. And we're 0 for 2. Interesting enough, Sibley and Burns, 37% of their opening partnerships have fallen within 2 overs.
Wowzers.
39 ducks in England's batting order this year. Joe Root has scored, I think in calendar year 2021, let me get this right, 4 times as many as the next English batsman. Right? So, something has to happen. The opening partnership, I'd bomb on both. I know Burns got 49 in the first innings, and now people say I'd bomb, get rid of both. I'd give Hamid another go, but at the top you've got to give him. He's no problem bringing him in. He got a first ball of 9, but that happens. He's got to have given a go there. I don't know where else you go for that. I'll be honest, I've got no solutions. But the point of the matter is you can't do that.
Somebody's name Ollie.
Was Ollie Pope, who's been in and around the squad, highly rated, Surrey fella, been injured, got recovered. It was in the squad, was left out from this Test match. Got sent back to Surrey for the Royal London One Day Cup, and I got a run. In fact, yesterday I was watching it because it was the semi-final. Got a duck.
Wow.
So I don't see how you can necessarily bring him in, albeit his record is reasonably good. I personally don't think he's the player that people are making out. However, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a go, but how you justify bringing him in on the back of no red ball cricket and not anyone's in any cricket, I'm not quite sure. I think the disappointing thing is that without Stokes, I think there are only 2 people on the team sheet who are definite, and that's Root and Anderson. I think the rest of them is up for grabs. And what a situation to be in when you've got 3 Test matches against India, and then that's it before we go to the Ashes.
Am I right in saying 7 Test matches without a win now?
Yeah, 7 Test matches, and that's an issue for Root. I mean, I've said it before, and it's not.
Well, how long do you give Root before you actually change?
Well, I don't think it will only change on his terms.
So, is it not a common thing then for somebody to be ousted out?
Yeah, they can get sacked as captain. It has happened, but most of the time it'll be on their terms. I mean, for example, if he loses 4-0 and he doesn't want to resign, they might change it. But ahead of an Ashes series,
maybe he needs freshening up.
Well, I wouldn't have changed. I said before, and the people who know me at home said it's not after the horse was bowled. I said at the time he shouldn't have been captain. Leave him to bat because he's our best player, and one of the best players, and will go down. Will score the most runs of any English player. But they're just picking the wrong sides. You know, Bairstow showed a little bit. I was really pleased to see Mohamed Ali back. Definitely, he's probably he's penciled in for me. I won't say he's inked in, but Butler, I love him to bits as a white ball player and his attitude, but to me he's not cut out for it. I don't know how fit Folkes is, but I'd have Folkes as a proper wicketkeeper batsman at 7. Whether that frees up Butler to go back somewhere else, I don't know. But this is the time that they've got about, I think, 10 days now, which is quite a long period in between Test matches in terms of cricket to make, and they've got to make some strong decisions.
Is it Edgbaston the next one?
Headingley. Yeah, so they've got to make some big decisions for me, and that's around the batting order. I would definitely bomb Burns and Sibley. 100% they've got to go. Maybe give Crawley another go. I would like to see Milan in the side. I've said that before. I know his form over the last few months has been in white ball, but he's got the temperament, I think, and the mentality to succeed, and he's been done well against Australia in the past away, so you've got to have one eye on that. I don't know, bring back Alistair Cook, he got another 100 in the week. But honestly, you probably don't think they're in. It's a real turning, crucial point. I wouldn't be against, and it won't happen, I wouldn't be against the captaincy going off Root, because I think you've got to have, yes, you've got to look at the immediate thing, of course you have, but you've got to have one eye on the Ashes. And if we lose the next Test match, so let's be honest, I don't know where we're going to win a Test match from, other than at Headingley. Anderson, if the weather's a bit dodgy, swing him and he could nail people out. But even then, and you talk about the game this week, if we bowled them out for what we should have done and chased, let's say 180, 190, I'm not sure we would have got them.
Yeah, still full short. Interesting, what I did see, did you see the white guy run onto the pitch?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Jarvo!
He ran in with the Indian kit on, and somebody goes, what are you doing? He's like, played to the wrong bit, did he play to... He's like, oh, yeah, I'm an Indian player, and an Indian guy was just cracking up laughing. Like, absolute class.
It was brilliant, yeah.
That was a bit of entertainment. Anyway, so hopefully this time next week we should have an idea of the squad.
Yes, we should.
And then we could maybe deliberate over the squad and see if there was anybody that you might shift them out. We're going to move quickly on to fantasy football.
Yes.
So we have actually
Please do.
a Sporting Jibberish league now, and if you still want to get involved, go back through onto our social media. You'll find the code on there. But we've actually got 97 people in it so far this year. Jack's currently sat 94th or 97. Just thought, when he said to me how many points you got, I was like, I'll just see how many people have got in there. Harry's actually above you.
Harry's above me. I had a shocker. I'll put it out there. I picked Kane and De Bruyne from the start because they're so...
As captain and vice captain.
Well, wait a minute. Let me get... Because they're so expensive, I wanted them both in the side. And whether Kane's at Spurs or not eventually. What I failed then to do is a sort of switching around and also switch the captaincy round, which cost me big style.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to put the captain though, to be fair, because Son, I would have given it to Sonny actually.
Jill's above you as well, which is
Jill picked that team, did she?
She did, yeah. She's on 37th.
Yes, she did.
Good news is Stuart Booth is on 13th with 97 points, but Gabriel Bichette, new starter, I believe, at our place, maths teacher, 114 points. He triple captained.
First week, he triple captain.
Yeah, I literally looked at it. I was like, he did what? Triple captain Salah.
It's not a bad move, is it?
No, but you imagine if you triple captain Fernandes. Jeez. But yeah, that's what's basically won him it because he's got 51 points from him. Son 10, Fernandes 20, Firmino 7, Dallas 5.
How has he got all those
6.
in his midfield? And Ayling, of course.
Yeah, but then look at his. They're a little bit low on the rest of the team, but I've actually got a couple of week plan on the old fancy football. So Gabriel drops a line, and then we'll sort out. You've got a discount voucher for Lart at Studio One. Studio One are our official sponsors this year. We'll let you know about the prizes, but yeah, they're going to be between Lart and Void, with discount vouchers, brunches, and even a stay. So thank you very much, Studio One. But yeah, I've got like a couple of week plan, and I don't know if I should be letting you know about this. So I made a few transfers already. I'm going to go for it. Whether you want to follow this advice or not is yours. I've gone and put in Tomiskas for Liverpool. I brought him in. Only 40 million. So 4 million. Brings in and obviously frees up some money somewhere else. Also takes the corners. So he does the opposite side to Trent. Robertson's back at training, but they don't anticipate Robertson to come back until after the international window. So you could get a couple of weeks out of Tomiskas on the cheap. And then I've got Boomore, the lad Brentford, who's a midfielder that plays up front, and again is cheap as chips. And then I've got up front Tony Ings and Antonio. Well, two of them are going to get sacrificed.
You're going to fight them fit.
I'm going to sacrifice them two to bring in Lukaku.
But
I don't know whether to do it now because I've already lost 4 points, and it's losing another 8 points in order for that to happen to get Lukaku in. Or do I just think Lukaku's playing Arsenal first game? Man, need a little bit of time to get used to the playing environment, so I might bring him in for the third week.
I've not done one this way, and I was looking at a little bit yesterday because I want to try and see where we stand with Kane closer to the time for obvious reasons. And I looked because Lukaku's a little bit cheaper. But again, I was like, it's Arsenal away. I'm not sure he'll play first game. Because managers have these bizarre things, sign new players, don't play them, don't get it. Tottenham did that. They've spent all this money and this time chasing the centre half. He doesn't play.
Yeah, so
I don't get it.
I think I might do is just stick with that team for this week, and then I think the idea is Antonio will come out. Lukaku will come in, and then the lad from Watford is going to come in on the cheap, Dennis. Who bagged in the opening day. But somebody mentioned to me, and I'm not sure how true it is, that Ings was potentially isolated. But it's not showing on any fancy football thing.
Yeah,
But anyway, that's enough.
Next we'll have the expert back there, won't we?
Yes, yeah, we're going
to
bring Larkin in every fortnight to give us his hints and tips. But I'm quite happy with the start I've made. I don't even know where he is in ours. In our league,
it can't be that high because he's not given us.
Well, he's not. Yeah, he's not been into.
He had a little bit of a dig at me, but
well, he wouldn't have a dig at you. You were the strongest player in our group, aren't you? Holding everybody else up.
There we
go. 29th he is. He scored reasonably 88 points, so decent week. Captain Salah, Fernandez in there. He's obviously copied me, hasn't he? Had a look at my team.
Yeah,
he went with Salah like he said he was going
to.
Yeah. I think on the bench cost him 6 and Mings got him 0 on there.
Yeah, I had Amity on the bench as well for Leicester.
Yeah,
he got me 6 points.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting, and we'll keep an eye on that. So well done again, Gabriel, and get in contact. At the end of the day, Jack.
What do we know?